And if you'd like to be part of the show, you're always welcome. A couple ways to do that. One is you can get us live here in the studio from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern every Monday. And the number here in the studio is 440-946-9468. That's 440-946-WINT. If you're a little too shy to be on the radio and want to give us an email, you can do that.
Who the heck is shy on wanting to come on the radio? What do you think, Adam? What an easy thing that is.
You could be shy, or you want to maybe get your question down or your story down in just such a way that you like to write it instead.
Be perfect, yeah.
So you can shoot us an email at radio@maximumvp.com. As we were saying before, in terms of communication, there's lots of ways to communicate. So the verbal, people can call in and talk about it. They can do it in writing too, and depends how they present it. That passion and the feeling for it. So
I bet you we got a lot of people out there right now who have a bunch of how questions, and they're just wondering, hey, how do I say those how? Just say it. Say it. Say it the way you're thinking of it.
That's right. Let it flow.
That's it.
All right. Our dirty secret this week, and it'll probably come as no surprise to those owners out there. You're always working.
No way. And we take grand vacations to Hawaii and other places, east, west, north, and south. That we're always working.
Now, if you aren't,
I agree.
If you aren't sure about that, why don't you ask your spouse? I'm sure he or she will let you know that yes, you are in fact always working. And we don't say it in terms of it being a bad thing. It's just understand that's how it is.
That's right. That's a very good way to put it. Because there's no on and off switch. We haven't been able to find where that's located in somebody's brain, and that means then there's stimulation going on 24/7, and ideas for your business come at any given time. Taking a shower, taking a walk, working while you are working, going out to dinner with friends. You just never know when it hits you. You see something around you, and it hit you. I mean, that's the best way to, and you got to get it somehow filed so that you don't lose track of it. You're always working.
Yeah, there's especially in common challenge in today's day and age is this whole concept of work-life balance. And it's something that's been coined recently. It's probably the last couple of decades now that whole phrase kind of came out.
Seems like more of a focus on it now. Yeah. And looking for that secret of how do I get paid without working? I mean, that's the ultimate.
I don't know if it's that. That's part of it. But part of it too seems to be, Jack, people maybe try to compartmentalize things. I remember we had a client years ago, and she'd taken over for a family member who had passed away, and she'd worked at the company, and she talked about her days being in 8-hour chunks. 8 hours of working, 8 hours kind of her personal time, 8 hours of sleep. It was very, I say robotic, but very structured that way, right? Well, one thing's for certain: when you own a company, there isn't that structure per se. So what might happen is you might be working for 5 or 6 hours, then you have a break where you have a kid's sporting event, or you have something kind of going on where you're going to take a few hours, go over here, and you come back and you work again for another 3 or 4 hours, and you come back. To me, the whole idea of work-life balance is, and we've had other clients joke about this. Say, well, look, you can work 12 hours a day. You just pick which 12 hours it's going to be, because it's going to vary from time to time.
Well, don't you think people have always been trying to find a work-life balance? So.
We're trying to find a way to do it all, I think, is more. I would call it a balancing. It's more it's trying to get it all done, right?
If you have a job, it's pretty tough to do, isn't it?
Yeah, because you don't control. You have that old mentality of, hey, you got to work from that 8 to 5 time frame. I got to see you. If I don't see you, you're not getting the work done. Versus let's focus on results and getting stuff done.
Well, now you have technology that allows so much remoteness, if you will, from the job site. And what is the job site today? Becoming more and more.
Wherever I've got Wi-Fi or I've got a connection to my data stream, pretty much.
So
right?
all of a sudden, a work-life balance is being achieved, versus trying to be planned and implemented with precision and processes, and not that way. It's hey, I don't mind getting up at 3 in the morning sometimes if I have to, and at the same time, if I'm going to work a 2-hour day, sometimes that's okay too. To your point before, it's just getting the job done. Some jobs have to be. Even, I don't know, not too many jobs have to be.
Physically there. There's some still, but it's not nearly as prevalent as it used to be. I guess as I was thinking about this, Jack, I think a big part of this, and I can relate to this, which is you look for those moments of peace and quiet, and it's usually very hard to find during the middle of the day. So you need to have time to yourself to kind of get some of the planning done, get some of the stuff done that you want to get done. So those often happen in the quote unquote off hours. Could be in the evenings, could be on the weekends. We have so many clients and owners that look forward to those. We had one client who was looking forward to spending some good time this past weekend over Thanksgiving weekend to dig through a bunch of his numbers for planning for next year. Looking forward to having time to be able to do that.
It's funny, but
it sounds
true.
Like he's got a disease, right? Or he's a little off his rocker, but we fully understand that. Because during the course of the day, you have so many things kind of fighting for your time, or things going on between your team, between customers, between vendors. Or it might be that to have to have a couple hours to yourself is very difficult to find during most days.
So what do you call that?
Well, to me, that's why we say you're always working. If you can find some of those times during the day, I think a lot of that work might get done more during normal quote unquote working hours, but it's hard to find because there's so many variables going on.
It's hard to find structurally. In other words, you can't plan on it.
You try to stick at your calendar, but the phone rings, emails
you
coming
can't do it.
Stuff happens.
It's always on your mind, and your work identifies who you are. So that's a big part of this too. You can't stop working, but you said it earlier. It's not a negative. It's not a negative thing that you're working. It's positive if you love it, and if you do love it, then it's just a blend, and you have to find time to satisfy other things, whatever those other things may be, and it's going to be disrupted, those other things, because it's a 24/7 job to take care of your business.
Right.
And like it or not, if you're successful with your business, it just becomes part of you.
Yeah, it's not a burden. I mean, I look forward to those times later in the evening when the kids have gone to bed, and the wife often has too. I've got a few hours by myself of quiet time to get some stuff done that I couldn't during the rest of the day. And again, it's very satisfying. It's not a burden per se. It's I almost look forward to those times.
Well, a lot of people feel guilty. They feel guilty, for working all the time. Well, that's a little bit different. Mentally, you can't turn it off. Physically, you can put yourself in different environments, but you certainly never should feel guilty about working, especially if you love it. And most small business owners, really, when you peel back that onion, they love what they're doing.
Yeah, a big part of I think your point might be made earlier, Jack. I think the people, when you have a job, you don't have as much necessarily control over things like that. Whereas I think the owners, that's one of the big benefits, is they can try to control their schedule a little bit in terms of trying to balance those things off. And again, they'll work during the course of the day at different times, but they're going to also do a lot of the other things that they maybe couldn't do when they had a job for somebody else, whether it be heading off to some kid's recital or going to a doctor appointment, whatever it might be. Just hey, I'm going to get all this stuff in. I got 24 hours a day to get it done, and I'll get it done. Right? It's one of those kind of things. That's a good way to approach your team too. Keep that in mind, that if you focus on the results, you have good people, they're going to get stuff done. So don't be so worried about people being there from 8 to 5 kind of time.
Well, I love working. You're a great partner, Adam, and that's why it's so pleasant. So no problem working all the time.
All right. Stay